Skills Training Project, the Clean and Jerk. For our skills training project, we chose the Clean and Jerk, which is an Olympic lift. Skill classification. The Clean and Jerk is a gross motor skill as it requires the use of large muscle groups to perform the movement. It is a serial skill as it is comprised of several discrete skills chained together. It is also a closed skill as the performer initiates the action in a stable environment.
Gentile's taxonomy classifies this skill as being 2B. This is because there is intra-trial variability as the regulatory conditions change trial to trial, such as the weight on the bar. There is also object manipulation as a barbell is moved and the body is stable. The clean and jerk comprises of a first pull, a second pull, a catch, and a push press.
To set up the movement, stand with a shoulder width stance with the bar nearly touching the shins and the head facing forward. Grip the bar while squatting so that the shoulders are slightly ahead of the bar with a straight back. The first pull is performed by extending the knees, moving the hips forward and raising the shoulders whilst lifting the bar straight up. Keep the bar close to your body and keep a straight back.
Perform the second pull by thrusting the hips forward and explosively moving the bar upwards by extending the knee, ankle and hip joints. Catch the bar by rotating the elbows so that they are under the bar and pointing forwards, whilst performing a front squat to absorb the weight. Perform the push press by explosively pushing the bar upwards, whilst extending the hips, knees and arms.
The program consisted of part practice, as it is a skill with high complexity and low organisation. We used segmentation to teach this skill by breaking it down into the first pull, second pull, catch and push press. We then pieced these parts together to teach the entire movement and used whole practice in the later stages of the program. Using part practice for beginner trainees allows for better memory consolidation as opposed to using whole practice due to its complexity. Part practice also helps us to keep the learner's attention whilst learning the skill. We used block practice due to the trainee being in the cognitive stage of learning. Week 1's goal was to learn the first and second pulls and then combine the two. To do this, we used the deadlift, and the high pull.
The goal of week 2 was to learn the catch and combine it with the first and second pulls. We used the hang clean and the clean from floor. In week 3, we aimed to teach the push press. To do this, we used the front squat, and the push press.
The goal of week 4 was to chain all of these segments together to perform the whole movement. Week 5's goal was to practice and refine the technique of the clean and jerk. We used the clean and jerk to perform the entire movement, and to do this, we used whole practice.
To foster positive transfer between our training program and the clean and jerk, we used exercises that were specific to the segments of the clean and jerk. We also used mainly barbell training, as this is specific to the movement. If trainees have any weightlifting experience, there should be some positive transfer to the clean and jerk. For some of the drills, we used a stick to simplify the task for beginner trainees. Distribution of practice. Performing Olympic barbell training can be very taxing to the neural and musculature systems. Therefore, training was distributed on non-consecutive days 3 times a week to prevent fatigue. We also distributed practice sessions instead of massing them to have shorter and more frequent sessions to optimize motor learning.
We kept our cues short and to the point to avoid providing too much information to the learner. These cues direct the learner's attention to the key elements of the movement. Back refers to keeping good posture throughout the movement. Slide reminds the learner to keep the bar close to the body whilst completing the first and second pulls.
Elbows refers to getting the elbows up and pointing forwards during the catch. Push tells the performer to perform the push press explosively. When teaching each exercise in our program, we used modelling to aid skill acquisition. To do this, we would give a visual demonstration of the performance of the skill, and then supplement this by using verbal instruction and introduce verbal cues. Before each demonstration, we would explain the importance of learning each exercise to increase motivation and capture the attention of the learner.
We use terminal feedback to provide information regarding the performance of the movement following a certain number of trials so that the learner could adjust to their execution. As the program progressed, feedback was faded. This was to ensure that the trainee relies predominantly on intrinsic feedback and to prevent them from becoming dependent on extrinsic feedback. This is in accordance with the guidance hypothesis. We also used video feedback analysis, where we would show the trainee videos of their own technique and have them assess it. These feedback types would also improve the motivation of the athlete and refocus their attention.
We also used goal setting to enhance motivation and arouse the learner's attention. We set the performance goals of improving their testing scores throughout the program. We used mental practice in combination with physical practice to aid learning and to provide a cognitive rehearsal of the skill, as well as assisting in error correction. To evaluate performance, we used a qualitative visual assessment by devising a score sheet. This marked the trainee on key elements of the skills technique. To measure the performance changes achieved by our program, we used a pre-training test, a post-training test, and a retention test. The retention test would take place following a 2-week no-training period following the post-training test. For each test, we would use the qualitative visual assessment outlined earlier. We would infer learning from the performance changes between the pre-test and retention test results. A new trainee would initially be in the cognitive stage of Fitz and Posner's stages of learning model, where they would be relying on observation, verbal and sensory feedback to comprehend the nature of the movement. By the completion of the program, we would expect them to remain in the cognitive stage, as the clean and jerk is a difficult skill of high complexity.